more than just the conflicts, it's also the climate crisis. So this multitude of crises that are happening in the region, this report gives us, again, the solutions to acting now with the instruments that we have. Otherwise, there will be even more instability. There will be even more crisis as we see it, and that crisis will go beyond.
For more on this, Bob Ward joins us now from London. He's the Policy and Communications Director at the Grantham Research Institute on climate change and the environment. Welcome to you. As you see those images of what's happening to Ukraine, the destruction to the land, what goes through your mind when you think about what we're discussing right now, how war impacts climate change?
Well, the first thing to obviously say that war is a terrible humanitarian disaster and people suffer greatly just directly from the effects of war. But there will become a period when the war is over, when there will be a need to rebuild Ukraine and to recover. And the damage to the environment that's occurring will make that much more difficult. If during the course of the war you destroy Ukraine's systems for managing pollution, for instance, it could mean that they'll end up with polluted waterways, that the land will be contaminated, and there will be great damage to wildlife as well, which will all make recovery much more difficult. And of course, those environmental impacts will not just be limited to Ukraine. If it gets into waterways, then it can affect countries around it. So what this does is it means that the legacy of war carries long beyond the end of actual conflict.
And we're looking there at images of destruction and also military equipment. And there's an incredible statistic here that global militaries contribute to 6% of all greenhouse gases. That was mentioned in the report before. Talk to us about that. I was not aware of such a high statistic.
Well, when you think about all the vehicles and the aircraft that are used during warfare, they're mostly powered by fossil fuels these days, and quite often they are machines that are not very fuel efficient. Jets use a huge amount of fuel in order to be able to achieve high speeds and to carry the armaments that they use. All of that creates greenhouse gas emissions, because when you consume fossil fuels, you release carbon dioxide, the main fossil fuel. And quite often, the greenhouse gases produced by armies during warfare are not counted in national statistics. So to some extent, this is hidden.
I saw that, Bob, and I thought that's incredible. I saw that a media report about that right now, and I thought that is incredible that is hidden. Why is it hidden and not reported by many governments?
Well, quite often warfare is carried out outside of territorial boundaries. So, for instance, the amount of greenhouse gases that are being produced by the Russian army inside Ukraine will not be counted as part of Russia's national greenhouse gas totals. I'm pretty sure of that. And so it won't be counted. And so is a significant source that will be added to the global amount of emissions, but will not be counted as any nation's contribution, and therefore will not be subject to the nationally agreed pledges on greenhouse gases, which have been made by Russia and every other country around the world. And the same applies, of course, to other countries. The United States, any army operating outside of its national borders, their greenhouse gas emissions are not generally counted towards their national emissions.
Bob Ward, always a pleasure to have you on the show. I learned so much when you're on. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.